Okay guys, welcome back. This is the second ever episode of the Galago Games podcast, which I think I might start calling the GG podcast, or is that a bit too cheesy?
Oh, I quite like that actually.
GG.
Yeah.
GG
I'm going to
podcast.
pretend like I thought of that before I chose the name. But anyway, so we've got some new people with us today. I'm Zach from the last episode, but this time we've got Owen.
Hello.
We've got Ed,
Hello there.
General Kenobi, and we've got Rob.
Yo, what's happening?
So these guys have kind of got a different taste in games than the people we had on last time, but for the most part, a lot of us play the same stuff. But I guess people have the niches, don't they? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much the RPG guy.
Yeah, and
No.
I'm very much multiplayer, like MMOs.
I'm big into my story and my Souls series.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Ed has a strange thing. So Rob said he's the RPG guy, but Ed has a strange thing where he classes RPGs. Do you want to give people a definition of what you class an RPG as?
Yes, I view the RPGs as too broad a definition for a lot of RPGs. For
Fair
example, Mass Effect. It's not an RPG.
Absolutely
Yes,
an
it
RPG.
What? Hang on,
It's quite clearly an RPG.
why is it not an RPG? Don't you
It's
like?
not an-
you,
it's
you
because-
level up, you've got skills and all that, don't you?
You got all those
You've
wonderful
got
things. You've got your
character creation.
classes. You got character creation, but it's a game about the story of Commander Shepard.
Yeah, but he's
Now-
a role that you are
And
playing.
you're taking
about-
the
yeah.
role of Commander Shepard.
What about Resident Evil? You're taking on the role of
All right.
Leon Kennedy or whoever, but it's
But
the
you-
same thing.
But
You're
you
playing
It's about
their
genre,
story.
You don't have
I feel like it
character,
depends on the stats.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have character progression. You just gain
can't
more
be anything
depth
that
of the
defines
story.
It's genre tropes, isn't it? Like crafting, skills, experience, leveling up. Like,
I mean, you can.
If you have
craft
enough of
in
that-
Resident Evil,
yeah, I guess.
you can combine.
You can't level up.
Well, Minecraft. Minecraft has no stats, but
Oh, wait,
that
in-
is an
Yes, it
RPG.
does.
It does.
What are you
have
on about?
stats.
We don't have stats. What are you on about?
The stats are bound to the gear.
You can't change your stats.
gear.
It's bound
You-
to the
you
gear,
can wear
mate.
gear, but
Yeah, and you can
can't
enchant
level
them.
up your strength.
Well,
You
also,
can't.
in
improve
some
your
of the
health.
Resident Evil games, can't you? You can invest points into your guns and stuff to improve your guns.
Yeah, you can improve guns. and
Yeah, alright. Well,
To
the term
same effect
RPG
that you can
is.
in the new Tomb Raider games as well. Like you can
Yeah.
upgrade your weapons and your pickaxe and all that. No, ice pick. Sorry,
The term RPG is a massive umbrella, isn't it? Like,
it is a bit.
Yes.
I guess that's Ed's point.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think he goes the other way too far, where he says that
Always.
nothing is an RPG. It's not the case that everything is an RPG.
Part of
So,
it
so,
is.
so Ed,
you know,
what is an RPG in your books?
What is an RPG?
What's your RPG of choice?
Skyrim, and Kingdom Come Deliverance is a good one, but that's also kind of iffy because you're playing as Henry.
Yeah,
But Skyrim, if you want a true RPG, Skyrim is a proper RPG. So is RuneScape, obviously.
An RPG
big-
does not
big
have to be you
RuneScape.
create your own character at all. Like, I don't think there's a single JRPG where
isn't
main
The Witcher
focus
an
is-
RPG as well? And you just
No,
play as
you're
Geralt.
playing as Geralt, metrosexual fruitcake.
it's still an
Okay.
RPG.
It's an RPG.
It hits every single point of that genre, I would say.
Yeah, I would say it's obviously an RPG. It's not even a discussion. It is an RPG.
Just a character-focused story game.
Yeah,
Different genre
but
entirely.
but it's an RPG. There's role-playing elements to the game. You make choices as Geralt.
and it affects the outcome. Like if you take a certain choice, like I don't know, you kill X character. I've only really played Witcher 3. I've not finished it, but I'm pretty sure that your choices matter in that, don't they?
Yeah.
Like if
To
you
a degree.
if you were to kill an NPC, like it would change that quest or whatever.
Yeah. There's one
Yeah.
point in The Witcher 3 where it says, like, tell this guy forcefully that you don't want to be part, like, his mate. And then Geralt just snaps his fucking leg. Which is not like,
Yeah.
say
That's a-
forcefully.
That's a bit forceful.
Yeah, and then you can't do his missions for the rest of the game. So that choice had an effect on the rest of the game. I think Ed just needs to write, like an 8-page document about what types of RPG there are.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my master's degree.
Maybe
Defining
that should be
properly, once and for all, what an RPG actually is.
What we could possibly do is have a nice feature, a nice show that we do where it basically we put a game to Ed and we just argue. We have Ed on one side and everybody else on the other. And we argue whether it's an RPG or not.
The series is called RPG or Not.
Yes, something quite like that. I think that'd be a good one.
We can have a series like that for everyone in this code because we all love to argue.
Oh yeah, I feel like that this about 50 to 100 episodes into this podcast, like all it's going to be is arguments. We're going to start and argue like we've done in this episode.
I want to dispute that stat.
He wants to argue against it.
Yeah, I'm not happy with that stat.
I think by episode 50 we'll have stopped arguing about everything.
No chance.
100%.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
Let's discuss.
Let's not.
Anyway, so I guess I'll continue with my intro. So big news, we've had our first podcast obviously up. We're now on Spotify, which is pretty cool. We're on TuneIn, and we are submitted to iTunes. That's still under review, but that should go up probably next week, I guess, is when they'll accept us. I mean, if we're on Spotify, surely we're going to pass for iTunes, right?
I should hope
I
so.
guess that's how it works.
I mean,
Maybe.
there might be stricter rules for one or the other.
Maybe.
So, well,
Maybe.
I've not looked into it.
If you're not a podcast sort of app person, you can subscribe over on YouTube. We've also got a nice Resident Evil demo video up on YouTube, which stars two of the people right here, Robert and Owen.
Yep.
Indeed, it does.
That was a very enjoyable experience.
I thoroughly enjoyed playing that game. It's like I haven't played a Resident Evil game since Resident Evil 6, and Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 are the two games that I didn't play the originals. I've got the first one I played was 5, then I played 4, then 6, and I have been back and played 1. I haven't played the remake of 1 or the remaster on GameCube, whatever. But I could not do 7. Like there was no chance on this earth that I will play 7. I've seen it, I've watched it, and I'm just like, no, I will not be able to do that.
How much do we have to pay you for you to play it in VR?
I am definitely not doing that. You would have to pay me a shit ton. Excuse my language.
It's alright, Rob's already dropped an F-bomb.
Have I?
2 minutes in.
Yeah.
My apologies.
I would have to have a lot. Like, I'm talking in the Ks to do that.
In the Ks?
Yeah.
Really? To
Yeah.
play a game?
Yeah. I'm not
On
doing
VR.
it. On VR,
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7, I'm in the Ks.
You are missing out. Resident Evil 7 is a really
it looks like a really
good
good game, but I know for a fact I can't do it. But on the reverse, after playing Resident Evil 2 Remastered, it goes back to the game that, like, the style that I enjoy, where you have a gun to defend yourself.
Well, you're doing 7.
Only really late in though.
No, it's,
Like,
it's not. No.
Right at the start, you don't get one.
Yeah, but the start is like a.
And half the enemies in Resident Evil 7 you can't kill unless it's in a boss fight.
That's not true.
I mean, it is.
You can.
You only have the molds, don't you?
Yeah, you can kill all the molds.
Well, yeah, you can. They're the ones that you can kill, but the ones that you can't kill are the ones that you actually care about killing.
Got like Jack
what's his name? Like Jack and Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, but you don't actually interact with them unless you can defeat them in a sense. Like apart from right at the start where you're being chased by Jack, you can't do.
Where you fucking bust through the wall and it's just like.
Yeah, you can't do anything to him then. But when you have, I see what you mean. In those in between bits between the boss fights, you can't actually defend yourself really.
Of 7, I've played up to just after that bit, and I'm done. I can't do anymore. I refuse. So I got past like the chainsaw Mia bit and all that. I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it anymore.
To be fair,
you had your hand cut off, right?
Yeah, and then the wife like puts it back on.
Yeah, with the goop juice.
Yeah.
The goop juice.
The running away.
The Resident Evil 2 demo was absolutely fantastic. I loved every second of it. It's like that is one of the games that I'm most looking forward to, and it only comes out like a week and a bit. So I'm so looking forward to it. Annoyingly, I'm busy that weekend, so I can't actually play it on the weekend it comes out.
I can't play it until the 30th, so
yeah,
it's disappointing for both of us. Yeah, we're both really excited. Like, every second of that demo was like, this is everything I wanted from a Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well,
everything.
I'd never played 2, but it looks like a game that I'll thoroughly enjoy.
Are you a Resident Evil 2 guy, Ed, or are you
not particularly. So I only played 6 and 5 with Brad. and I just couldn't
Yeah.
get into it. It's such a strange series. 7 looks good, but
Yeah, I feel like they found the feet again with 7, right? Isn't that the general consensus?
Yeah, so 6 went a bit downhill. I still enjoyed playing it, but I wouldn't say it was a good game.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine
enjoyed
playing
it.
6 on my own. Like just playing it for the story, I think it'd be shit. But,
I played it on my own. It was alright.
yeah.
It was,
Quality definitely slipped since 4.
Oh yeah.
Like 5 wasn't as good as 4, but because it was co-op, it was fun enough and it carried through. But 6 made a lot of weird design choices from 5 that made it less fun. Like I beat all 3 of the main scenarios. I didn't do Ada's, and then that was on normal. When I tried to go up to hard, all of the bullshit sort of all of the rubbish design sort of things that they changed are a lot worse on harder difficulties because they just, if you get grabbed, it instantly takes part of your health off. There's no like shaking them off to save face. Like you instantly lose a bit of health. Like stuff like that just ruined it. And then 7 really brought it back.
Yep. The same happened in Resident Evil 2 remake. Like there was the bit where I went through a door and got grabbed by that zombie, and there was literally nothing I could do, and it just bit me, and I lost some health. And then while it was on the floor, it got up and lunged at me, and bit me again. I was just like, "What the hell?"
Was that by the shotgun room?
No, it was after you help the dude in the grate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember when it burst through the door.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. Like I was just trying to go through the door. I was like, why can't I go through this door? And then it just like burst at me. I'm like, oh, okay, hello, dude.
Do you not hear the banging?
No, I didn't. No, I missed it.
Right. And you can see the door shaking and everything.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that, but I straight up missed it, and it caught me by surprise. I was just like, oh, hello. And then I just.
Right, if you want to watch that stuff, you can watch it over on the YouTube channel.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I guess. But I guess we'll move into the actual news.
Yeah.
There's about 5 things to talk about that I thought were maybe interesting enough to mention. Considering this is like 4 days after our last one, or 3 days. Usually it's going to be a week. So in future there'll be more stuff to talk about.
Is one of them Ariana Grande's new tattoo?
The Eevee tattoo.
Yeah.
It's not on here, but we can talk about it if you've got something to say about it.
I just really dig the Eevee tattoo. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a good tattoo. It's a very good drawing of Eevee.
Yeah. It's
I'm gonna
like
have to
there was a
Google this.
lot of money invested in that, as you would expect
I'm
from a
sure,
celebrity.
yeah.
So it is a top quality tattoo.
It'll be perfect.
As a big Pokemon fan, I dig it.
Are you not going to purchase an Eevee tattoo yourself, Owen?
No, I'm going to stick with my theme of dragons.
Fair enough.
Like,
Are you excited for that one?
My next tattoo will be another dragon.
Cool. So we'll start with some news from Bandai Namco. And this is, I guess, probably most interesting here to Rob, but I might be wrong with that. So they tweeted earlier, it says, in 2019, the project of a new game focusing on the world of Dragon Ball Z begins. And more news coming to Dragon Ball Fighter Z. The warrior from Universe 11 is joining the fight. I have no idea what that means. But the initial bit, basically, Bandai Namco are going to make an action RPG Dragon Ball Z game.
Where are we getting the action RPG from in this?
This is in some news articles that came out at the same time.
Alright, okay.
Are the Dragon Ball Z Universe games action RPG? I've not played
I
them
wouldn't say
myself.
so.
No.
They're probably just...
They're 3D
they're
fighters.
fighting
Yeah.
games,
Okay, I was just wondering if it was like I think it might have been a third one of those maybe, but it's not my area of expertise, so I just thought I'd ask the question.
They have RPG elements, but whether they're an RPG or not is down to Ed.
Obviously not. It can't be. Any DBZ game is just a fighting
RPG
game.
decider? Is it or isn't it?
Yeah, come on, Ed, give us a verdict.
Well, I'm gonna go with no, just because knowing Dragon Ball Z from the anime series, how could you turn that into an RPG? Because you get stronger by dying if you're a Saiyan, so all the game is going to be is constantly dying
that's
to
a good
level up.
mechanic.
Is that
It's
actually a
interesting
thing?
until So the reason like Goku gets so strong is because he keeps getting his ass handed to him and then being brought back to life.
Yeah, but he trains when he's dead, doesn't he?
He does, but that's not like all there is to it.
he trains when he's dead.
Yeah. Have you not seen Dragon Ball Z?
I have not. It's not one of the ones that have appealed to me.
Yeah, when he dies, he goes to King Kai's planet where the gravity is like 100 times the Earth's, and he can barely walk. and he trains there. So when he comes back, he's been submitted to this gravity for so long that he's now used to it, and he's super strong.
Is that why he can fly? Because
he can fly because of
he just jumps good.
Magic.
Yeah, I was going to say
magic
he just hold himself up.
No, it's
he uses
energy.
his abs to just control gravity. That's how that works.
Ah, I see.
So do we think an action RPG Dragon Ball Z game can be a hit? Can it be a good game?
Absolutely.
I mean,
there's an audience for it.
Yeah,
I think it can.
Action RPGs usually do pretty well. So like you've got Path of Exile. There's that new Korean one, Arc or something, Arc of Light, something like that. I don't know
Kingdom
the exact
Hearts.
I don't think it'll go down the Diablo sort of action RPG, top-down sort of thing. I think it'll be more of a Kingdom Hearts, sort of taking the fighting from the universe and applying
just the actual fighting is action RPG. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was imagining this.
When I see action RPG, I think like is it Divinity and things like that, where you got like the top-down isometric kind of view.
Well, Divinity's a classic RPG because it's turn-based, but that sort of thing is.
Okay, I thought it was. I might be getting confused with a different game.
Yeah,
but like, I think of Diablo.
I mean, imagine if there was a top-down RPG Dragon Ball game, like Divinity.
I'd play the shit out of that. I'm not even gonna lie.
That'd be crazy.
No, with they had some Game Boy games ages ago that were top-down, sort of like kind of Game Boy versions of action RPGs, and they were really good. So if they can make a 3D version of that's actually fun to play, and not just.
Do you foresee it being like one of those original stories that's like terrible? Because I know the Dragon Ball Fighters story is terrible.
Well, it says focusing on the world of Dragon Ball Z rather than anything. So
with
I'm imagining
games, they don't usually focus on the story. The story's sort of just there. And it's more about the gameplay. But I think with that game, the gameplay is fine. But it's like isn't it like the net code's awful? Like you always like lag online and things like that. Like you can't actually accurately predict when someone's going to do something, even if you see it happening, because you just can't block it in time for the net code to pick it up the input or something like that.
Yeah. So Ed, if this, let's say this game comes out and it says you go onto game, you go onto IGN, and it's listed as an RPG.
I'll be very angry.
What do you expect the game to be in that case?
If it's listed as an RPG, a Dragon Ball RPG, you'd have to pick whether or not you're assigned a human, some kind of weird third alien.
Yeah. Who are you?
Pretty much. You get to pick a fighting style, and you have several animations based on that. And then as you level up, you'll hit harder and whatnot. But I want it to be flashier. You need to visually see your character progression.
You can go from like Kaioken times 1 to Kaioken times 100.
Yes. The important part, though, aside from the fact that you need to be able to see your character's progression in the RPG, is that you need to have the choice to not fight and to have the talking
in a Dragon Ball game.
We don't have to fight. You want the planet dead? I hate everyone on this planet. Go nuts. And then you can just leave and progress down a different story path.
I was gonna say, until that point, it sounded like you were just describing Xenoverse.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
And then you said like, "Oh, if you want to kill this planet, go ahead."
The talking option is very important. You also need to have your traitory, backstabbing moments.
Would the option?
So, say someone wants to duel you honorably, you need to be able to be like, "Oh yeah, of course," and then kick them in the bollocks.
Yeah. Does the option have to specifically be through dialogue, or can it just be like? Before it gets to that point, you stab him in the back and blow up his head or something, and then you don't.
You might arrange to send a love interest of his on a date and carry poison lipstick, and then
in the Dragon Ball game.
It's important to have choices,
or even just blow up that planet before it gets to the point where he wants to blow it up.
Yeah, you just you ask your friendly neighborhood death weapon to just destroy the planet for you.
Just your.
Fair enough,
casual pocket Death Star.
Yeah.
Well, that's Ed's rendition of Dragon Ball RPG. Maybe that's a different show we could do as well. We could do Ed, is it an RPG? And we could also do Ed, make this into an RPG. In which we name any franchise. It could be a game, a film, TV show, and he has to turn it into an RPG. That might be an interesting
I
idea.
feel like he'll just follow the same formula of
It
you pick your character,
Yeah.
you pick your clothes, and a dialogue option.
Maybe that's
There we are.
it.
That's it. That's all you
maybe
need.
that's all it
The
is.
real
Ed's
important
requirements.
bit is you have the choice to do something completely different to what your normal character would want you to do. So Commander Shepard always wants to stop the Reapers, except for at the end of the terrible ending of Mass Effect 3. You should have the option from the get-go to be like, well, maybe we can start incorporating them into our society.
I can see that.
On this point, judging by the definitions you'd given so far about RPGs, World of Warcraft didn't really have dialogue options until very recently, where they have added a quest, which for the first time you could choose not to do, and it will alter the actual. So they haven't said what yet because they're still like middle of the patch, whatever. But you can basically pick a side for the Horde War Chief now, where you can stick with Sylvanas, or you can go with Saurfang, because Saurfang's sort of been like exiled, and basically he's on the run from Sylvanas because Sylvanas is trying to kill him. But there was in the PTR, you just had the quest from Sylvanas's Dark Ranger to basically go and kill Saurfang. But then in a patch on the PTR later, they then added the dialogue option to refuse the quest, and it comes up with a dialogue option saying like this will change the outcome of this quest line, and you do get a different reward for which side you choose now, so you can actually pick, which is the first time World of Warcraft, which is one of the biggest MMORPGs out there, if not the biggest, it actually now has a dialogue choice, which is quite a big thing for the future of the game, considering if dialogue options are a huge thing for RPGs, and seeing Blizzard now taking that approach in the game is quite exciting, really. I think, at least.
He's got you, Ed.
He does. It's now an actual RPG. Congratulations to Blizzard.
So before it was an MMO, and now it's an MMORPG.
Yeah, they've ascended.
That's Ed's final verdict.
Now just need them to follow the same path as Bungie and split from Activision, and I'll be happy.
Yep. Cool. So we'll move on to the next story. I feel like we've dried up the DBZ discussion. So a report came out that Fortnite made the most annual revenue in history this year, with $2.4 billion, which I believe is like, I don't know, someone do maths, 2.1 billion pounds, maybe?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
What's that in relation to?
Is that of any game in history, or just
any
company?
digital game in history?
Digital game. Okay.
Has it outdone films as well? 2.4 billion.
Scott,
yeah.
If you count inflation, I don't know.
It will have done, I believe.
Games
I
are a
think
bigger medium than film anyway, in regards
some
to spend.
films have been over 2 billion. I think like some of the Star Wars thing, and I think Avengers, the latest Avengers, Infinity War was over 2 billion. But most films don't go over 2 billion in their entire run. But obviously Fortnite is just going to continue making this money every year.
Yeah.
And it's a free to play game, which is the crazy part.
So it hasn't beaten Avatar, which had a worldwide gross of 2.78 billion.
And that's bear in mind, obviously this is 1 year of Fortnite.
Yeah.
So it's going to beat Avatar very early into year 2.
Avatar came out in 2009, and Titanic is the next highest, and it beat that, and Titanic is 2.1.
It's crazy. And this is all just people buying battle passes and cosmetics and stuff.
I blame myself. I bought a battle pass and never played the game.
Yeah, I bought one battle pass.
Yeah. It's all my fault. That 2.4 billion came straight from my pocket.
So I was reading an article about this, and there's an interesting little fact. It said, what percentage of the total digital games revenue do you think free-to-play games accounted for? So when you think of just digital games, I guess this could be sales of, like, I don't know, Red Dead via the PS Store. What percentage of revenue do you think?
By revenue, is that just game sales or microtransactions?
Money made in the industry.
And does it include mobile games? Because I know mobile games are huge in the Asian market.
I don't believe it includes mobile games.
Okay.
Have a guess, percentage-wise.
It's got to be at least 2/3.
83% for me.
Yeah, I think at least 70.
You're 70.
Going
You're all close.
66. I'm going.
It's actually 80%.
It
Fucking
was
hell.
80. Wow.
Yes. I win.
80%.
And people wonder
So,
why high street game stores are suffering.
Yeah, and why companies are starting to make free to play games instead. Because if you get a hit with a free to play game, you're sorted.
Yeah.
With this, if you can get a good back end with all this sort of cosmetics and battle pass stuff, it's over.
That's the thing. Like, I'm completely fine with Fortnite as a concept. Like, personally, I don't like the game, but I like that. Yeah, you've got the battle pass and things, but it's all cosmetic. Nothing will actually help you get better at the game.
Yeah.
Whereas you see a lot of things with like the mobile games and stuff where any of their transactions are just pay to win. Like they'll skip levels, get more units or anything, things like that.
Yeah.
Like upgrade early and things. It's like I'm not too keen on those. But Fortnite, I'm perfectly fine with Fortnite's I don't know, like recipe or whatever it's called.
Even MOBAs are somewhat pay to win in a sense, though, because you can't get characters without paying for them. At least for most of them.
But
So League of Legends.
With League of Legends, it's just like it's a shortcut. Like you still can unlock them free.
Yeah, you can, but it's
Are there any that are locked behind a paywall?
yeah.
Yeah, most of them are, aren't they?
No,
Yeah.
well, no, you can still get them.
Well,
you can
in
still get them
rotation.
through the
But
currency. that
it
you
takes a
earn in
lot
game.
longer.
It doesn't anymore.
Yeah,
They've improved it way loads now. It used to take a long time. Like back when I was playing the game massively before all this Blue Essence thing, it had like IP and RP, and it was so difficult to unlock characters. But I nailed down. I played the game and just unlocked pretty much all of my characters through the in-game currency earned through playing.
Yeah, it's like in the middle between Fortnite, where it's all cosmetics, and mobile games which are just genuinely pay to win. But there is still a pay to win element of.
So, well, are you guys familiar with War Thunder and their pay to win method?
Not
I
at
know
all.
of the game. I don't know.
Okay.
The
So
pay-to-win.
you buy your Golden Eagles, but they contribute to faster research, which lets you get more powerful tanks and things. But each of the separate tanks is in a battle rank category. So you could like spend all the money you want to get the best tanks possible, but you'll be playing against people with similar level tanks. So it's paid to progress faster, as opposed to outright pay to win, which is an interesting method I quite like.
That's more of like the person is paying to skip the game, which is weird to me.
Yes, it's very strange.
Like,
But
why would you want
there's
to do
so much in the game, so there's loads of tanks. Easily over 100, I would reckon. And that's just the tank trees. Then there's the planes, and now the Navy has been introduced recently as well. So there's a lot to get through. Maybe you just want to play a particular tier of tanks. Or you want to just play only as planes, so you research everything else and just focus on the planes.
But and is that
But
how...
it doesn't off-balance everyone else's experience. So a free player will still fight in the same tiers of tanks as everyone else. Even
That's
if
fine.
someone bought the tanks to get there.
I just feel like it's weird that you would want to skip that progression. I enjoy progression in games.
I'm not going to lie, the progression is very slow.
Well, maybe that's on purpose.
It's not as slow as World of Tanks, which I thought was taking the absolute mick. I couldn't do it. But War Thunder is reasonable.
It's just an amount of time you have, isn't it? People are working 40 hours a week on
yeah,
average.
I guess I can see that.
So they want to play more than one game, but they like that one, but they feel like they're not getting the full experience because they're playing under lower level tanks, and it might be more enjoyable to play with higher ones, and they want to skip towards that while still enjoying other media.
Yeah, I can see it. Cool. So next up, we've got some kind of Cyberpunk news. I feel like everyone in here is going to play Cyberpunk when it comes out, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. I want to get a 3K PC for it.
Exactly. So basically, there was an interview on a podcast recently in which a Cyberpunk dev said that they didn't really start developing the game properly until after Hearts of Stone, the Witch 3 DLC.
That surprised me actually, because I would have thought it would be Blood and Wine that they would have waited till after, because that was way bigger than Heart of Stone.
Yeah. So Cyberpunk was announced in January 2013. And Hearts of Stone was in 2014 or 2015.
So how long The Witcher was?
Yeah. So they've been working on the game now for probably about 3 or 4 years. Do you think that this game is coming out next year or the year after at this point? I mean, do you think it's coming out this year?
How
I
long
feel
was
like
it
it's
between
coming out
Witcher 2
this
and
year.
3?
I don't think it was too long between 2 and 3, but I think this is a different ball game completely.
But I have a feeling this is going to be more linear.
What?
Yeah.
Have you watched the gameplay demo?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They said that they finished the main story already, and that now they're just adding extra stuff.
I don't think this, because I think it's going to be the most non-linear game that Project Red have made. From what we saw in the demo, there's ridiculous amounts of options. It's like Ed's Dream RPG.
Oh, well, I've got to get it now then, don't I?
Yeah, you create your character. There's lots of dialogue choices.
Are there plenty of options in the story? You can do what you like.
It seems that way. That way. From the brief demo, 40-minute demo.
Can you shag your way to
Brief.
victory though?
I reckon you might be able to in this
100%.
game. Yeah.
Good.
It
It's very
seems that way.
important to me.
Yeah, so I'm just reading through this article a bit, and there's a quoted bit in the middle that says, "As soon as we concluded work on Blood and Wine, we were able to go full speed ahead with CP 2077's pre-production." So pre-production doesn't necessarily mean development, because there's
so
all
that was
there in where I work. There's 3 stages. You have development, you have pre, and then production. And pre is short for pre-production. So
yeah.
I feel like them saying going full into pre-production would be the muscle of the game's already there. Like the skeleton and the muscles there, they're just the pre-production will just be like the skin and polishing it. So maybe I feel like saying that their development didn't fully start is a bit of a clickbait title, really. It's like
they're obviously working on the game for a while before, but
they might not have had 100 devs on it, but they would have had, say, 50, for example, throughout since like whenever the concept first begun. Like they'll have.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case.
Yeah.
Is that what pre-production means in the gaming world? I had more of a they were still at the design sort of phase rather than any development had been done.
No.
So I know in
it
software
wouldn't-
pre-production is obviously just before you push it to production.
The term, it covers a lot of software engineering in general, so it would be it's a term used in the entire industry of computer science. So
Didn't know if it
or
was
computer
separate
engineering. No, I
in
wouldn't. I
games
wouldn't
'cause
have
it's
thought
more
so.
of a
I'd have
media.
thought it's a universal term where pre-production is the bit before you go into production, and production is the thing is ready and it's going out.
Don't know whether to take this with a grain of salt, but Wikipedia is saying that it's a design phase and it's a planning phase of the project focused on idea and concept development and production of initial design documents. So I don't know if it is different in games or Wikipedia is just talking rubbish.
I don't know. I wouldn't have. I would have felt it would have followed suit with software engineering industry.
I mean,
Things get different once you get to industry. So when I was doing the game for the Transfuser convention, our pre-production phase was making all the blueprints we needed in Unreal, as well as some of the skeleton assets. And the production phase was only a few weeks, and that was literally building the final version and polishing it. And then we had post-production, which was tidying it up, doing surveys and such, and then presenting it at the convention.
Yeah, that just sounds completely wrong use of words there. In my opinion, that just doesn't sound like the right words we use, unless it might follow a different sort of framework, that sort of methodology of creating.
Yeah, so all the design stuff was done in the pre-production, but a lot of the the player health system, the way the enemies turned to face players, all of that stuff was done in pre-production. It was the actual level building and putting together of things that was the production phase. So pre-production was just getting everything in there.
So what in that sense, what defines development?
Well,
main production.
For our teams, development was kind of defined by: do you have all the building blocks you need to make it, and do you have a plan of doing it? If yes, you start doing that, and that's your development phase. Development ends once you've built the product, and you can start testing it and refining it and such.
I guess it can be different, really, can't it? For different studios.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Different teams.
I guess it depends on what terminology that
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
How do you wanna word
project's
it?
being built.
yeah. CD
That project's
Projekt
being built to,
Red.
I suppose.
CJ Projekt Red might have a completely different game development life cycle.
Pre-production, pre-production might mean something completely different for CD Projekt Red than it does for I don't know, EA or whatever.
The only pure paperwork section was coming up with a financial plan and the pitch to publishers and such.
That would have been done by people completely different than the game designers in a proper company, though.
Well, maybe. You want someone to have some input, though. You don't want to
Yeah.
have...
Yeah,
The
marketing
project
team
lead
like,
will
it's gonna
be
great.
involved in that, but that will be
can you imagine
the
if,
finance department.
You'd end up with another Sean Murray situation.
let's not talk. I don't know.
Do you not want to...
No, that's like
So
a whole
much
podcast
pain.
episode.
That's a good game now, isn't it?
It's all right now. It's not terrible. They made some pretty decent changes to it. I always try and get people to play that game now, and no one does. So,
No.
so that game probably. Let's have a vote. Say aye if you think that game is coming out this year.
Aye.
Really, that's interesting.
I'm
Cool.
thinking towards Christmas time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
If
I think
so.
it's going to be Q4, but I am also fairly confident it will get delayed. So whenever
most likely.
whenever it gets announced, it'll be like, oh yeah, it's coming out here. It's like, oh, we're delaying it for 3 months.
They're gonna move it. Yeah.
It's coming out
Rob?
Q2 2020.
2020 next year. See,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even that confident. I feel like it could be for like 3 years away still
Well,
at this point.
The Witcher 3 came out in May, so I don't see why they'd push for a Christmas release for Cyberpunk. When, yeah, it's probably got more hype, but it's more of a niche game, I think.
You think? I don't know if it is. I think a sci-fi sort of first-person shooter, in inverted commas, is maybe more popular for the widespread audience, I would say,
Well, what was
than an RPG, like a fantasy RPG.
what was the sort of hype around Deus Ex when that was coming out?
Yeah, that's a decent point. I don't think Deus Ex has really ever been mainstream, has it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
fair
think
enough.
I think the majority of the hype around Cyberpunk isn't because of its genre; it's because of it's by the people who made The Witcher.
Yeah, you're right. So maybe it's just going to be the niche of people who bought The Witcher that buy this game.
Well, everyone bought The Witcher apparently. Have you not seen Gaming Circle Jerk on Reddit?
Yeah, I do feel like most people bought The Witcher 3, not the other two,
No.
just The Witcher 3. Fair enough.
I never
Cool.
finished the other two. They crashed and burned before I could even finish them.
One is such a strange game.
The combat system is odd.
It's
it
terrible.
was like Dragon Age Origins, which I hated and used console
Oh,
commands
I like
to finish.
Dragon Age Origins.
No,
I love Dragon
it's
Age Origins.
Awful combat. I love the story. I love the characters. Great.
I like the combat. I like
Really?
everything about that game, apart from the fade. I skip that. I get the mod.
I think I played 2 for about 20 minutes and then
2
stopped.
is definitely the worst.
So
one.
I'm sure I got to a bit where I got into
Wait,
a
sorry.
little town, and I think someone was trying to get hung or something. And
Are you on
then I
about The
ended
Witcher
there.
or Dragon Age at this
Oh,
point?
Witcher. I've not played
Okay,
any
2 is not
Dragon
the
Age.
worst one. Sorry.
Zach thinks 2 is the best one, don't you?
Yeah, 2 is the best one.
I think that's a general consensus, isn't it? Like 2 received really well.
I think
If it's
3,
probably
I think
received well,
three
three-
was awful, and Origins was pretty good.
Now Owen's gone back to talking about Dragon Age.
You need to like
Sorry,
pick which one
yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
Wait.
Dragon Age.
Yeah, Dragon Age 2 is terrible, apparently. Well, I've played
never
it. It's
played
pretty
it.
bad.
Two's, wait,
Drag-
I thought
The
Dragon Age.
Inquisition is alright.
2's one
But it's
with
not great.
Hawk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Witcher-wise, 3 is obviously the most renowned, but I prefer 2.
I think Witcher lost a bit with its open world. It's not as
Yeah,
tight.
I agree.
The story's not as
But it obviously gains
Yeah.
a bit as well.
Yeah, I think the story and the actual like quality of the game dipped a bit in a way, but open world's one of those things that if you tick the box, you're gonna spread to a wider audience.
hmm
People don't really like linear RPGs as much as open world ones.
No.
Sorry, not RPGs, Ed. What's The Witcher?
I'm
What is The
glad
Witcher,
you're- The Witcher is a story-focused game. not quite
A
an
story-focused
RPG.
game. Why don't we
Story-focused
write?
game.
SFG.
Why don't-
So you're saying
Why don't we
it's
write?
SFG.
are you saying it's an adventure game?
An adventure game. Adventure might be a bit generic.
We'll write
That's
to
just
a
wait,
CD
wait,
Projekt
wait.
Red.
What defines an adventure game?
What defines an adventure? So I'll tell you what. The original Zelda is an adventure game.
I thought it was
There's
an RPG.
there's no plot. There's no real RPG to it. You can increase your hearts, but that's it. It's literally you have a desire to go and explore the world and have an adventure. That's what an adventure game is, where your player agency dictates your fun.
Yeah, but then I feel like then that in turn makes The Witcher 3 an RPG because it has all the elements that Zelda doesn't. Right?
Wait,
I don't know.
that's like saying that anything compared with something else means it's something
Yeah, that's
completely different because they don't have the same properties. It's like,
Well,
that
the
doesn't-
genres were really well defined when games first started because you could, like, they were genre-defining games. Like, you could only
Like-
make a game
like
that made a
Rogue.
genre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Metroidvania, who literally
Yeah.
created their own
Yeah.
genre.
And now every game is just an amalgamation of other genres. So
Wait,
Yeah,
is
it's
it-
either
is it-
action
well,
adventure
I thought
or RPG.
Metroidvania was a cross between Castlevania and Metroid series.
yeah,
So it's not one game; it was two games that defined that genre.
yeah.
It was the way they did level design and exploration that really defined things, along with a player progression system of collecting items. It's quite revolutionary at the time.
The fact you had to go back to areas you'd already been to progress with new items you gained further ahead, it made what was really a small world, if you think about it, quite massive.
Cool. So we'll move on. We're on about. I think we're 40 minutes, so we're doing pretty well. We're going to talk about now Rocket League. Does anyone still play Rocket League?
No,
Very, very occasionally.
Yeah.
couldn't
I
master.
feel like it's still got a huge player base though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's still like tournaments and stuff going on for it, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it's pretty big in the. Well, I say pretty big. It's up there in like the top 10 esports games.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Well, that's
So-
the issue with it, because everyone's really good at it, and if you want to get into it, you've got no choice.
It's got ranked systems.
Yeah, but
So Psyonix announced on Monday that Rocket League has full cross-platform play. So like Fortnite, you can now play Rocket League. Like if you're on PlayStation, you can play against people on Xbox, etc. This is only the second game that has this feature. Do we think that this is going to become a norm going forward?
I'd hope so.
I would like to think so, but you've got to remember that a lot of companies are like, oh yeah, exclusive to this console. No, you're not allowed to play with other people. You got to
Yeah.
That's kind of why I'm thinking it's
buy our
not going to be a
console.
thing.
Buy our console.
You're always going to get the single player exclusives, but I feel like the multiplayer stuff should be cross at this point, or next gen should be cross-platform.
If it's
Well,
not,
that's what I'm kind of
So
thinking.
you've got games like Fortnite that are completely cross-platform. You can be playing on PC. You come across people playing it on mobile and things like
Yeah.
that. But it just leads to an unfair advantage for the people playing on PC because you could just theoretically, I don't know if it's actually algorithmically possible, but theoretically you could be placed as the only PC player in a game with 99 mobile players.
Yeah, I feel like there's kinks with that sort of stuff, but I feel like if you limit it to sort of PlayStation and Xbox can play together, that makes it less of an issue.
it depends on the
If you're
developers.
sticking to consoles.
If the console
but
company
then
developed it,
the
then
Xbox
they're-
has recently said like you can play any game on the Xbox with a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I think you can with PlayStation some games. I don't think it's every game.
It's like been officially announced for the Xbox. Like they've I think they even said that it's not out of the question to have games on the Xbox that you can only use with keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, I think I heard that. The thing is, though, I feel like there's enough sort of push from the community that this is going to happen. Where we're going to get in maybe like 2 or 3 years, Call of Duty is cross-platform. If you're playing on PlayStation 4, you can play with your friends on Xbox in Call of Duty.
yeah, if it's a third-party game, I can absolutely see it going to cross-platform multiplayer. But
But
I
by
feel like
player-
Sony and Xbox will
Is that-
want to keep their own exclusive multiplayer games to keep people on that platform specifically.
Yeah, but with play with, do you mean like actually party up? Because then you got to
Yeah,
you'd
I
have to
think so.
consider the actual cross-platform
Yeah, party
infrastructure
system.
of the actual console and the design of their partying systems and stuff.
Yeah,
which is
I
why
wonder
it
how it
doesn't.
works in like Rocket League.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Rocket League, it was until recent. I don't know if this means that you can party up with people. I haven't looked at the article yet, but it was just like you could play against a team that were on, or you could have people on your team that were from PlayStation, but you couldn't actually physically party up and specifically queue with that person. You just happen to get them in the same game because then it's on like the server side of the game, and they can put that out onto any device because it's their server. They own that server.
It's probably oversimplifying things, but surely they could just prefix any sort of account ID with the PS4, Xbox sort of, ID, and then that they'd communicate that way. It wouldn't be like party systems, PS4 to Xbox, but in game they could set that up.
Yeah,
there's a lot of games that
the only way
lobbies.
that I could see it is if they take it out of the console's hands and keep it on their server side, because they're in control of it that way. But that's not how I'd imagine that's not how the default APIs that PlayStation or Xbox provide to implement those things in your game. Like you'd have to specifically make your own versions, which maybe that's what they've done. Again, I've not completely read the article, but
it doesn't mention anything in the article about the actual specifics of it.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, obviously, there's not going to be like a party. I don't think you'll be able to like join a voice chat. You'd have to use like Discord or something for that. I think it's just surely you can actually join like an in-game party to matchmake with your friends though. Surely that's the thing, right?
Potentially.
You must have figured that out.
So it has to all be done in game.
I can't see any like technical limitations to doing that as long as they do it all on their server side. So even if they just have some sort of way of putting like how like I don't know, like Uplay for example has its own like gamer taggy sort of thing inside the games. Like have that, but a Rocket League gamer ID that is unique to that have to be that user. Yeah. And then when they log into Rocket League, they're on the Rocket League server with that user ID, and then they could just share that user ID with anyone else who's in Rocket League and have like a Rocket League friends list. I don't know.
I think that's
is it the job
works.
of the game developer to make sure that cross-platform compatibility can happen, or is it the job of the people who make the consoles?
I don't know. At the moment, it's the consoles sort of provide default ways of having like parties and multiplayer and things.
Because the only way I can really see this working out long term is if the companies behind Xbox and PlayStation decide, we'll work together to make cross-play a thing for all of our games. Otherwise, it's probably going to be unique to only a few things, and it might even just die out.
I think there'd have to be some kind of cooperation in order to make it easier for developers.
Yeah. I feel like if Rocket League like it kicks off and everyone goes that way, and then if more games start implementing their own way of doing cross-platform, it will speak to the console producers themselves. Like this is what gamers are wanting. Look how popular this is, and then they'll be like, "Oh, lead by example. People want this. Let's implement it." But until they see the evidence and the numbers of this is actually a recipe that works, they'd probably be reluctant to invest in it, because at the end of the day, it's money for that investment and the development going into it. So they need proof in the pudding that it's going to be a route worth taking.
Yeah, they may be losing a bit of exclusivity as well with that sort of thing.
Potentially, yeah.
If they allow someone, so a lot of, I guess, when you're younger, you buy an Xbox because that's the only you want to play with your friends. You can only do that with an Xbox. Whereas if crossplay is available everywhere, you don't need to buy an Xbox to play with your friends. You could buy a PlayStation instead, which I guess is their thinking, or it was their thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
With the success of Fortnite or Activision, EA, they're gonna look at this and think we can make more money by doing this rather than doing both. Because there'll be some people who don't buy Call of Duty because they've not got the same console as their mates.
Definitely. Yeah, you could see it spin both ways. I can see that. Interesting. Cool. So the next thing was meant to be our actual talking point, but I feel like we might talk about this less than we've talked about other stuff. So it's actually the fact that EA has cancelled, I'm going to say yet another Star Wars game, but it's just the same one that they kind of cancelled before. So initially Visceral Games was working on a open world Star Wars game. This was led by people behind, well, some of the people behind like Assassin's Creed and other games like that. They got shut down, and the game moved to a different studio. I believe is it EA Vancouver, I believe?
Looks like it from the article.
Yeah. And then just coming out now that this game is also, well, the same game has been cancelled again because EA sort of decided that it was too big. The game was taking too long to make, which I feel like if they hadn't kept cancelling the game, it may have been out quicker.
I feel like this is like a classic publisher move. Like, oh, we want this, we want this. Wait, like you've had too much money now. Let's just no, let's kill you.
But the best part is that they've said that instead of just cancelling the game and taking some time, they're actually now already going to be developing a new Star Wars game that's going to be a smaller scale. It's coming out at the end of next year. So they're basically like saying, no, we can't wait. We can't wait this long for your open world game that I feel like most people wanted. An open world Star Wars, like, that's more interesting to me than a linear game, because I feel like we're going to get that with that Jedi game that's out later this year.
The Jedi Fallen Order one.
Yeah, the one from Respawn, the guys behind Titanfall. So, I mean, this is bad news for me. I know you guys aren't as big Star Wars fans as me, but in general, how do you feel about the fact that EA just, continue to dump on Star Wars? The only games that EA have released, well, on console, on PC, since they got Star Wars in 2013 are Battlefront 1 and 2, which is kind of disappointing.
What was the actual last good Star Wars game?
Star Wars Battlefront
Knights
2, but the good one.
Yeah.
Was that after or before Knights of the Old Republic?
I think that was before Knights of the
2.
Republic. Oh no, was it after?
It's got to have been after, surely.
I think you're all forgetting that SWTOR is the best Star Wars game.
So it's
The old Republic.
Yeah, the
MMO.
RPG.
The MMO, yeah.
It's fine. It's not terrible, in my opinion. I'm not an MMO guy.
It's all right, but that was
it
I
could
don't know
do
when
with
that came
some
out, but it was definitely after the first
Yeah, it
Star Wars
was.
Battlefront 2.
It's still going as well, but it's also not canon, so I don't...
Also, they have
There's-
like the best cinematics I've ever seen.
Yeah, they are cool. Really cool cinematics.
As far as open world, well, not even open world, but it was like, single player, decent Star Wars content, there's not been much. When did not that they're good, but when did the ones with Starkiller come out? Force Unleashed?
They were around the time of the Wii.
Yeah.
Was that 2008?
It was around that period, I would say. You know what? The first one's pretty good. I'm not gonna...
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
It's
I
not a
love
masterpiece.
the junk planet you go to. That was my favourite area.
Yeah,
I
that's
loved
cool.
it
With,
so
with
much.
like the robot leg
yeah,
boss.
and they got
Which
bigger, and they
game's
had
this
the
one?
four-legged guy.
Force Unleashed.
Oh right, I could say that I've only played the Force Unleashed, the first one, and I got stuck at a bit where you're like pulling down some massive ship.
That's right near the end of the game. That's
Is it?
that everyone gets stuck in
Yeah,
that bit with the analog sticks.
I couldn't get past that bit. I just gave up.
I played it on the Wii, and I loved it so much. You proper felt like you were using a lightsaber. It was excellent.
Yeah, it was. I heard the Wii version. Did you actually move the Wiimote to control the lightsaber?
Yeah, it had some specific movements you could do to do various moves, but if you just flail around like a madman, you could get around most levels no trouble, and it's just great. Using the force powers was a little bit tricky at times, but once you got the hang of it, you could really accurately fling stormtroopers into their friends, or just off of ledges.
Yeah. That's what disappoints me. Is like there's so much potential for a good Star Wars game, and they're not releasing them.
Yeah, I don't
It's
care
so
if it's
annoying.
open world or if it's linear. I just want a good game in that universe that makes me feel like I'm in it.
Would it have to be canon for you to enjoy it, or if it was a
No,
good game
absolutely
that
not.
wasn't canon, would you still appreciate it? Or
I would still be interested. I would be less interested just because I'm a nerd, but I would still play it, obviously.
It doesn't even need to have anything to do with the Jedi for me. Just somewhere where we can go to places from the films and interact with the world. It doesn't have to be canon, but it doesn't have to be not canon either. They don't need to discuss it. They can just have content in that universe that goes with the same themes of that universe, and I'd still enjoy it.
They do make canon. So Battlefront 2's story is canon in the universe. So I would assume that any game that they make single player would be canon in the universe.
Which Battlefront 2 are you on about?
The new one.
The new one, okay.
Not the good one.
Yeah.
Not the good
How,
one.
Yeah,
how is
They,
that?
they overwrit some of the canon from the old Battlefront 2. Because that
Oh,
game
yeah.
was all about the clones choosing to kill the Jedi and how it was like affected them with PTSD and whatnot. And then the clone series was like genetic chips in their brains.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, come on.
How is the new Star Wars Battlefront canon? Can't you like play as stupid characters against stupid characters from different eras?
The single player is canon. The multiplayer is not.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough.
So it says here, it says the project, which was codenamed Orca, was very early in development, but would involve playing as a scoundrel or bounty hunter who could explore various open-world planets and work with different factions across the universe.
That sounds like something I'd have loved.
It's kind of like the 1313 game that also got canned. That was LucasArts making the game, and then I think that got canned because of the deal when EA took over the Star Wars license, or when Disney bought Star Wars. That game got canned, one of the two. And that game looked cool. There's footage of that game, like gameplay of that game.
There was footage of Star Wars Battlefront 3 as well. That looked really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Going,
the old one.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
going
I
from
was dead
space.
excited for that, and then it just never happened. And then I
Yeah.
got really hyped for EA's Battlefront 1, and then EA happened.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? It's so disappointing. I'm hoping that this Respawn game out this year will be good. But it's strange that it's out this year and we've not seen any gameplay of it. Or a trailer. It's not even a trailer for the game. I don't know. EA are nasty. I retract that statement if EA ever want to offer me a job.
Fucking hell. Have some spine, man.
Backtracked so quickly there.
Not even a full minute for that recant.
So has anyone got
Jeez.
anything else to say about this, or should we move on?
So, I'm not a huge Star Wars dude, so
Yeah.
I've played some of the games and enjoyed them to a certain extent, but one being cancelled doesn't the fact that it's a Star Wars game doesn't really bother me that it's been cancelled, but more of the concept of cancelling a game that is obviously has a lot of time and investment that had been put into it at a conceptual level to just be completely scrapped. Like even after announcing, oh yeah, this is coming out, it's like, and then cancelling it. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Why get to a stage where you're announcing it's in the works and being worked on, and then be like, oh no, it's cancelled now. So
It
that
just sucks that, like, surely they realised that it would take a long time to make an open world game from scratch with a different studio than the one they replaced it with.
well, yeah, but it's just like if don't announce a game before you're certain it's coming, because then you all you do is you lead to disappointment and you put a bad reputation to your name. Like,
I mean,
it's
their
just
reputation can't
this
get much
reputation
worse.
this reputation is just known for they're cancelling games, they're cancelling more games. It's like great.
Surely they could have funded both.
I mean, yeah.
Who knows?
The thing is, yeah, they probably could. They have the funds too, but
'Cause
the board would probably be like, no, we're not investing in this.
We need an earlier. We just
We-
need a quicker game.
Yeah, and we want enough money in our retirement fund.
But imagine if they did a quicker game that turned out to be quite good. The hype for this one off the back of that, they would have had way more sales.
So they could have done the Fallout recipe where they've been like, oh, we're going to release this cool game. It's not out yet, but to keep you occupied in the meantime, here's a shit mobile game.
Which actually not that bad.
Well, yeah, but
Fallout Shelter.
they obviously they wouldn't have invested like well, it probably is a lot of money, but it's not
relatively.
AAA funding on a mobile game.
No.
But it's good enough to tide the fans over while you're working on a project, and there's probably there would have definitely been some return from that game.
Oh yeah,
So-
the microtransactions in it
Yeah,
easily made tons of money. I think EA actually released an article, I think a year ago, where one of their Battlefront games made more money from the microtransactions than from the game's
I think I
sales.
saw that.
was it in Star Wars Battlefront 2 where the loot crates and stuff came under scrutiny?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
as
at
gambling.
launch.
Yeah.
It was really bad at launch, and then they kind of toned it down because everyone was refusing to buy the game.
Yeah, because they advertised it in their initial E3 thing. It was like, oh, you won't have to pay for any DLC, But,
yeah.
But the microtransactions, invest.
Yeah, that's
But they
how
didn't
these
say,
kind
they
of
didn't
spun
say
it
that
around.
in the E3. They waited for the game to release and then drops like, oh yeah, look at all our glorious microtransactions.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really say anything because I am a sucker for microtransactions. There's a lot of mobile games that I've put heavy amounts of money into, and I really shouldn't. Like
I
there
don't
was
really have a
mobile.
problem with the microtransactions. Is the fact that you got to pay 60 odd whatever dollars, pounds for the game itself, and then you've got to pay for the microtransaction.
But
That's
sure,
the scummy thing.
the issue with that is that you feel like you have to. Like I don't mind paying £6 for a game with there being microtransactions in it that I don't feel compelled to have to buy to do anything.
Yeah, that's
That was
I
the
think
Middle
that
Earth
the
thing,
issue,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Middle Earth Shadow of
Yeah,
War.
exactly.
right at the end, like the last quest or something was, if you were trying to do it legit, you just couldn't. You had to spend like 100 hours in the game, or drop another 60 quid and get it over and done with in an hour.
It was a massive grind fest.
Yeah,
They fixed it since, haven't they?
I don't know,
Not an
I
industry.
but with I think in the new Devil May Cry game, they're doing the same route as Shadow of War, where was it Shadow of War, or Shadow of Mordor? I can't remember.
Shadow of War was
Shadow of War
the
was
second
the
one.
second
Yeah,
Oh,
was
okay.
what was
Well, yeah, the one with microtransactions. Yeah, the new Devil May Cry, I've heard, is going to have the same sort of level of microtransactions in a single player game, just for progress. Like you don't
I
even
already
get
wasn't
to,
excited.
you don't even get
Connor won't
to
be happy for
you don't even get to show it off in the in multiplayer.
Yeah, in the multiplayer, yeah.
It's like, at least in some games like Fortnite or Overwatch or whatever, you got flashy skins to show off when you I don't know, like teabag an enemy or whatever.
Get
But-
some sweet coats in PUBG.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
trench
Anything like
coats.
that. At least
Oh.
there's some sort of, at least a statement that goes along with it. Whereas the only statement you have in a single player game is, I paid to finish the game that I paid to buy.
Pretty much.
It's like, great, cool, congratulations. Dude.
Well, we'll move on. Let's talk about what some of us have been playing this week. I talked about stuff on Monday, so I'm going to be skipped this week. So we'll start with Rob. We've got here, Rob,
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, what a roller coaster of emotions that game was.
Why?
Sometimes I loved it, sometimes I hate, because it is an okay game, but it's compelling enough to carry on, but parts of it are just absolutely terrible. So it's got this grappling system, which
Yep.
it's
Grappling
fun.
is in fighting, like on the floor.
No, as in like you can grab onto like
Oh, right.
giant enemies and climb up them. But one, it takes so long to move on the enemies that you just jump and grab on again. And two, your stamina runs out too quick, even with the extra perks. It doesn't feel viable at all to use that. It's an action RPG, action SFG, sorry, with
Thank you.
SFG.
Yeah.
Oh,
Story focused game.
story focused
action
game,
story
yeah.
focused game.
Can we trademark that? Galago trademark number 1, SFG.
Yeah.
Yeah, done.
It's got no action roll, no dodge roll of any kind. You have to use skills that take stamina, that are all attack focused. Like there's no actual just have a dodge.
Is
So
there
that's
any like
stupid.
weapons you can use that give you a roll skill? Well, I don't know if you have like I don't know if the weapon. I've never played the game,
Well-
but do weapons give you different movesets?
Yeah,
I
so
don't
you've
know,
got
if you
9
have-
different
If you have 2
classes.
little daggers, like if you're playing like a rogue thing, does one of your buttons become a dodge roll? Potential. I don't know.
Well, sort of. So they have moves where you can use they traverse the ground quicker, so you can dodge backwards while attacking in a way, but they're just not really viable to use. And the world's massive, not massive, but the world feels massive because you're only allowed to run. And when you're not in combat, you've got a stamina bar that runs out when you're sprinting, and you can run for about 4 seconds and it stops. And you have to let it recharge to sprint again. And there is fast travel, but you can only fast travel to places you've already been. Like you set markers
Makes
yourself.
sense though, doesn't it? Like that's
Yeah.
like Oblivion style.
Yeah, but it just
Yeah.
it makes traversing the world hard in a way that it shouldn't be. There should be a quicker way to do it. Even just having unlimited sprint out of combat would have made that game so much better.
Do you get a horse or anything like that?
No.
Oh well, okay.
You can jump on a griffin and hope it flies somewhere with you, I guess.
Is that, you mean like grapple a griffin?
Yeah. But
I always hear mixed things about Dragon's Dogma. Like, some people say it's like the best game ever. Some people say it's complete trash. I feel like you sit in the middle somewhere, Rob.
It's decidedly in the middle. Parts of it
Yeah.
are like, this could be incredible, and then the other parts like, why am I still playing this game? I've invested 20 hours in, I just want to stop, but I'm so close. And the ending just makes no sense at all.
So have
We
you
won't
finished it now?
spoil it.
Yeah,
Like,
finally.
okay.
You've not played the DLC though.
No, because the DLC... Because doing the end of the game essentially finishes the game.
No, I see.
I've got one question. Is
Yeah.
there actually a dragon in Dragon's Dogma?
Yes, I have fought several. Well, there's one big main one.
Okay. Is his name
Are
Alduin?
you interested in playing it, Owen?
No.
It's on my Steam wishlist, and I'm just never going to purchase it. Basically,
If you've been looking at your Steam library for about 40 minutes thinking, what should I play? And you've got it in there,
it's one of those.
give it an hour, see if you like it.
Mhm.
Don't give it
enough.
3 hours, because then you'll have to play the rest of it, even if you don't like it. It's that kind of game.
So I'm looking at the rest of your list, Rob.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back at the list.
And you're thinking it's not
And
worth
I'm
talking
thinking-
about.
I'm thinking, is there anything we actually want to talk about here? I'm not interested in talking about Fallout 4.
Oh.
You could
I'm
just
kind of
have
interested in talking.
We'll just have a quick blast. Like Rob, Fallout 4, how's it been?
If you mod it, you can get some good mods. It makes the game playable.
Cool.
Playable, literally playable.
What a glowing review.
Not great.
The,
Playable.
the main draw of all my mods is the fact that you can only save at beds, and it's really hard, so it gives it
I hate that.
some actual sort of
Do
tension.
all your mods impact your performance? Like, because
Yeah.
isn't it not the most performance
No, it's fine.
fueled
I've
game? Like,
not had any hit in performance,
okay, fair enough.
but they're all designed on making it like really survival based and hard to add some tension to the game.
Okay.
Despite it.
Bad game.
Yeah.
Deus Ex original, so the very old one.
Yeah.
Why?
Because that's what I do is I just stare at my Steam library for 40 minutes and think I'm going to play this really old game, and they're all usually pretty fun. Deus Ex is a very, very good game, but it's very of its time, and it's hard to play and enjoy now. But
Is it like the same? Is it the same story as Human Revolution, or is it completely different?
it's in the future of Human Revolution. So we're in Human Revolution, they're just getting mechanical augments.
Yeah.
It's about how they've gone beyond that. They're now getting like nanotechnology augments. So you
I
can't.
see.
They don't have to have anything, taken off. It's all inside. You can't really see it, and how that.
Like the Iron Man suit.
Yeah, and it upgrades their brains and makes them think faster and process faster, and there's barely any drawbacks. And it's about how the mechanical ones are all sort of being left in the trash, and they're considered second-class citizens in a way. And the people who aren't augmented at all, they're not even.
Even worse.
Yeah. So the story is really interesting.
For an old game as well.
Yeah,
It's got a decent story.
really good story.
By old, how old are we talking? Like, is it 19 something or 1990?
It's got to be 2000-ish. I can give it a quick Google, but it's not long after the millennium.
All right. Just curious.
The Millennium.
Just curious, really. What,
The millennium.
what we're
Yeah,
defining
the
as
year
old.
2000. It's almost 20 years old at this point. 19 years old.
All right.
Anything else to add about the game, Rob, or would you give it a thumbs up for people who are interested in that sort of thing?
If you liked the two recent ones and you think you can stomach an old game, go back and give it a go. Even if just for the story.
Fair enough. So next up, Owen,
Yes.
we've got three games here. We've got Overwatch, RuneScape, Smash.
Yep.
I'm most interested personally in hearing about RuneScape.
Okay.
What's been happening in RuneScape that makes it worth talking about in 2019?
Yeah. So RuneScape, as most people know, is split into two games now. So you've got the old school,
Good one.
Debatable. That some people, that people play, that came out in 2000 and I want to say 16, maybe a bit earlier, 15, around then, and it was basically just removing 6 years of updates and putting it into another standalone game. They got a lot of hype when it came out. I think they were probably like the first game company to do that. And I think World of Warcraft World of Warcraft are following suit
definitely.
with World of Warcraft Classic. So I guess that RuneScape has been an MMO since 2001 maybe, a bit earlier. It came out around the same time as World of Warcraft, maybe a bit before, and has consistently had enough players to make money and be a successful company. So it's really cool. And then, other than that split, they've kept their what they call now RuneScape 3, and that's just been getting updates consistently throughout the years. And I play on and off every now and then. Sometimes I get a bit bored with nothing to do, so I'll go back, play a bit, do some grinding. It's a good fallback game if you've played it for the amount of time that I have. Like, I've nearly got the 20-year cape, so that's like having an account for 20 years. I get that in about another 200 days. So my account is old, and I've put quite a few out. I've got maybe, I don't have a huge amount of playtime on it compared to like my World of Warcraft or.
When did you start playing this game?
Huh?
When did you start playing this game?
I started playing in 2003, I think. And
20 years. It's only been 16.
No, but I had 2 accounts, and my one account got hacked, and I lost that forever. But I can log in and find the date of when I started. I think it's on like my heroes log and things like that. But basically, it's a game that I play on and off all the time.
Right, so we had a Discord issue. As you can tell, we're a multi-million pound organisation.
Of course.
We usually don't have technical issues, but there's the first one of many. So
yeah,
we were talking about RuneScape. Owen was talking about
the age of his account.
The age of his account, and it's like 19 years old at this point.
Yeah, it is a very old account. I'll have a look and see if I can find the stat for you and give it you another time. But I was mostly wanting to talk about the fact that two of the oldest skills that have been in the game since RuneScape Classic, which was when the game first came out, have recently been completely reworked, and that's the mining and smithing skills. So if you don't know RuneScape, it's a very, very grindy game where you just spend endless hours repeating the same action for very little reward. But it's satisfying if you're into that sort of thing. Like so I say I don't play this game 15 hours a day every day. I'll log in 20 minutes, 40 minutes, something every now and then. But I've been playing a bit recently because of this new update. And I think they've done a pretty good job on the reworking of the mining. So previously you would be each mineral, like rock, would have it would be competitive. So the first person to mine the ore gets it. And that would give a massive advantage to.
Really annoyed me.
It would give a massive advantage to people who had a higher level, who were just basically using it to power grind, power level, and just instantly, like, you can like use the tick rate of the game to your advantage if you do it correctly. And if you were just like a casual player and you're not too into that, you'd just constantly be losing out. And now they've replaced that system with undepletable rocks, but a different resource management to get the rocks. So you have a stamina bar and a progress bar. When your progress is full, you get the ore, and the more you mine a single rock, your stamina depletes and makes the progress slower. So you need to. There's a bit of micromanagement if you want to optimize your XP per hour or your ore gain. Whereas if you just want to fully AFK, you can just click one rock and just waiting for your inventory to end up being full, and put them into they've now got these ore bags as well, which you can store, I think, 100 to 120 of an ore in, and then you can do like some achievements which will then increase that by 10 or 20 again. So you can stay at a rock for longer than you could previously.
Right.
Which it's nice for resources, and it means that some of the lower tier ores, which were higher priced because they were inefficient to bank, because if you could only store 28 in your inventory, it was, if you were just after the XP rather than the money, people would just dump them all on the floor and then just mine again. So it gives more reason to store them and then bank them, which is nice, and it puts more of the ore in the economy. So it's quite nice.
So do you think this is something that will bring any old players back, or is it just a sort of nice change for the current players?
Say I don't know if it will specifically bring old players back. With RuneScape 3, which is the version that I prefer, I don't know the influx of new players, or how many people who are playing it are just people who've been playing it because they've been playing it for years.
Yeah.
I don't know the community ratio on that, so it might bring old players back. They might at least give it a go.
Yeah.
But it's just they added some quality of life changes as well.
Yeah, as long as they're satisfying the current player base, that's all we need to do.
It was a satisfying change that I think they needed. Like, the skills were very outdated compared to some of the newer ones that they've got. It was very much take your ore, put it in the furnace, get the bar, click on the anvil, create chest, and that's it. There was now with the smithing of the item as well. You've got a heat of the ore, or the object that's in progress. So and you've got to manage your progress on the item and the heat of the bar. So the lower the heat, the harder it is to work with, which slows down your progress. So you've got to be it's a bit more, you got to be a bit more active with it. But there's like other like magic spells and stuff that you can use to superheat the item instead of having to take it over to the forge or whatever to heat it up again.
Okay, so there's some decent changes there.
Yeah, and there's many ways to increase your XP per hour and stuff by just manipulating different ways of doing things in the game. So overall, I quite like it, and hopefully it has a good effect on the economy. And all the it used to be like level 99 smithing was required, which is the soft max, to create like a rune chest body. And rune equipment was level 40 gear, so it didn't really make sense that you needed level 99 max level of a skill to create like something that sells for 30k GP to level 20 players, because that's their armor that they need or whatever. So they've readjusted the scale of what you need and added new higher tier items, and now you can craft some of the highest tier items in the game through a skill, which you couldn't do previously. So that's cool. That's quite nice as well.
There's positive changes to RuneScape in 2019.
Yeah,
I like it. Right, so we'll move on to Ed. I'm conscious of time, Ed.
Yes.
So if you can look over your list,
right,
and pick one out that you think you want to have a quick chat about.
Right.
Is there any that stand out to you?
Yes. First one, Kingdom Come Deliverance.
How is
Which is one that Brad talked about as well. So
yes,
let's
if
give
I remember rightly,
your verdicts as well.
He spoke about the save system and how awful it was. We're going to ignore that because he's right. It sucks.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have limited saves in this day and age. The thing I want to talk about is the combat, because the combat can be really fun. The problem is that it requires you to really study it and get to grips with how it works. So,
is that a problem?
Yes, because of the time it takes. In conjunction with the limited saves, every single death you have will set you back hours of progress, maybe.
That's painful.
It hurts to die. Like, on the one hand, it's made death in games significant, which has been lacking in recent years. But dear God. So there's a mechanic called the clinch mechanic, and that's where you get really close to your opponent, you do the lightsaber cross sword thing, and then it's resolved. Like, you'll push them away or they'll push you away. Yeah. And that leaves you vulnerable or them vulnerable for like a moment.
Yeah.
There's a skill that increases it by 10%. But unless you know to press one of the attack buttons as soon as the animation starts, you'll always lose. Except on like
does it tell you that?
No, no point does the game tell you this. You just have to know.
It seems like a kind of unpolished RPG.
I originally hated Kingdom Come because I played it when it first came out. It had a lot of visual problems, like people's heads weren't appearing. People were hovering in midair when they were sat on benches that were invisible. It was just a mess. But then it got patched, and I would come back to it, and I was like, oh, this is actually good. And the problem now is the combat. I've gotten good, so to say. But there are other problems. It took a long time, but also the AI is very good at adapting to your sword technique. So the idea is that you will start swinging in one direction, feint, and switch to another direction that's similar.
Yeah.
The AI can almost always predict you once they're at a certain level. Anyone who's wearing any kind of armor is hard. The peasantry, as long as they're not wearing a spear, free kill, easy. But the combat needs more simplification. Like, it's very realistic. I'm sure the HEMA community love it. It's too much.
It's kind of like For Honor combat, isn't it? Like a more complicated version of...
For Honor does it good. You've got 3 directions and a bunch of combo moves. Kingdom Come has 6 directions, including a stab, and loads of combo moves, which require specific swords. And I think the longsword only has 2 combos. They're good combos, but they're not great.
Yeah.
So it's... and the timing is different. Insane. So...
Yeah.
Dark Souls has invincibility frames when you're rolling, which is a small window. It's got parry frames when you're parrying, and that's another small window. But they're still bigger windows than the combo frames you've got in Kingdom Come. Or the, what is it, the Master Strike, which is where you parry someone before the parry symbol shows up, and you follow up really quickly and hit them 3 times. And it's a combat-winning maneuver, but it's so hard to do.
I like that the game has the sort of complexity like that, but I do think maybe they took it a step too far with all the systems put together.
I particularly like that combat is primarily dictated by your equipment, not necessarily your skills. If you have a mace and you're wearing plate armor, you can beat up everyone in plate, and people with swords can't really hurt you that much.
Yeah.
That's just what the technology at the time was. No one had guns, obviously.
Yeah.
But it does have other problems. I'm not even touching on the obscurity of some of the quests. Like the quests are a lot of fun, but
maybe we could do like a discussion. Maybe this is another new show, the sort of game discussion / review.
What a good
where the
quest
people that played the game, we would sit down, maybe you and Brad for this one, just have a chat about all the strange things in Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh, we could. Yeah, easily. What was it? There was a knight on the road I met. He wasn't wearing any plate during the fight that started with him, and then halfway through the fight, suddenly he was wearing plate armor, and I couldn't hit him. I was like,
his armor morphed
What is this?
Nanotechnology.
It was because I disturbed him at night, so he doesn't sleep in his armor. So he got up, started fighting me, and then just like put on his armor. I was like, you're cheating, you can't do this.
It's like half of a cool feature, but they didn't finish it off.
Not quite.
By leaving his armor off. I mean, it's another one of those games that I want to play for 10 minutes and then close it.
I don't think you can play it for 10 minutes.
And without save, I lose my progress basically every time.
Yeah, well,
is it a Rob game?
A Rob game. Perhaps. Actually,
maybe.
You finished Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is definitely better than Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah,
you need to get into the story and the characters of Kingdom Come, and then you'll just struggle through the combat.
Will I eventually become good at the combat?
Yeah, eventually. Really, figuring out the clinch mechanic turns one-on-one combat really. I hate controllers. I always use a keyboard and mouse, but you should play Kingdom Come with a controller if you're a normal person.
Yeah, I am.
So on keyboard and mouse, it's
debatable.
It's F, mouse 1 and mouse 2. Any of the attack keys will do
any attack key.
Yeah, they'll do a different variety of clinch resolution moves. But once you figure out how to resolve the clinch, they're staggered and you get free hit, and you can just fuck them up.
I'll keep that in mind.
It's very important.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us this week. It's been a long one. Again,
yeah.
1 hour 30. We're doing pretty well. Second episode in, we've got stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So again, thanks Owen for joining us. Thanks Ed for joining us, and thanks for Rob for joining us. Can anyone? Owen, we'll start with you. Do you want to plug anything? Do you want to give your Twitter out or anything like that?
Did you say me?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember my Twitter handle off the top of my head, but I think it's Owen ZZZ123 potentially. Yeah. So yeah, you can give that a follow if you feel like it. That'd be great. I also on Twitch every now and then.
Yep.
Under the same.
My Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube are all Tognus. And just real quick before we go to Ed, can I just question why last week, when you was talking about good games coming up, that you dismissed Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy on Switch?
Because we were talking about good games coming up, not Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy.
I almost didn't come on the podcast because of it.
I reckon, let's say we get people listening to this podcast, and someone is this far into the podcast. If you're this far into the podcast, you've managed an hour and 30 minutes of this, and if you've heard of Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, please comment. Please go out of your way. I don't know how difficult it is for you to comment. Maybe you're not logged in. Make an account on YouTube. Or just
tweet one of us or something.
Yeah, tweet us. Just let us know that you made it like an hour and a half into this podcast and you've heard of the Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, because I bet nobody has ever heard of this game.
I must admit, I haven't personally.
Yeah, me neither. Sorry.
It's trumped Kingdom Hearts 3, which is also coming out on January 29th. You've got to buy. Don't buy Kingdom Hearts 3.
Wait,
buy Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy.
They've got the same release date?
Yeah.
That's suicide.
That's brave. I love
suicide. Ed, anything you want to promote?
Just myself. Edgar Crow at Twitch.
Yeah.
It's set to auto host the Galago Boy channel, but I'll be posting up my quest for the illusory rings of Dark Souls 2.
Cool. So you're gonna be playing some more Dark Souls on Twitch, or you actually stream it? I know your internet.
My internet is absolutely atrocious, so I cannot stream it, sadly. So I'm currently in the process of recording the episodes, and they'll be going up.
I mean, you can put them on the YouTube. Maybe that's where people could find you more as well.
Maybe
on the actual
also
YouTube channel.
And I'll post them up into our thing, and we'll sort out where to put them. But there will be episodes up in the future of me dying a lot, quite embarrassingly. I know people love that. Not
dying as much as another YouTube series we'll have soon, which is Sam playing Dark Souls 3. He has started playing the game, so that video will probably be up either this week or next week. I heard that he had a terrible time, which is exactly what we wanted.
It sounds glorious.
But I heard he got further than what some people thought he would. So that'll be interesting.
I didn't think he'd get past Ulex Gundir. I thought he'd be stuck there.
No, he did.
I'm very proud
spoilers,
of him.
But I do believe he beat the first boss.
It is very exciting.
As a Souls veteran, I'm very excited for a new person to join us in Stockholm Syndrome of Dark Souls.
I don't think he's new. He has played the games in the past, but he's just awful.
Very briefly.
He dipped his toe into the water, didn't like the sharks, and left.
Very briefly.
To be fair, I do like Dark Souls as well. It is a fantastic series. I can't wait for Sekiro.
Yes. Anyway, so look out for that video. You can find me on Twitter at Zacher. He's ZACERHY. What else have we got coming out soon? We may be doing a 24-hour stream, which is crazy, but we're considering it. A 24-hour stream on Saturday. Probably start at 10 a.m. English time, GMT, and go until Sunday at 10 a.m. in which we'll probably, hopefully, see if we can raise like £2 for charity. Could you imagine if we raised £2?
That's Saturday the 19th of January. People who are listening in the future will be like, oh, that's this Saturday. And no, it's...
You missed it. Maybe it'll be on the archives or on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Check
the YouTube channel. It'll be on the YouTube.
Yeah. But you can follow that if you want to watch at twitch.com/Galago Boys. We should be going live around 10 a.m. if all goes to plan. So podcast-wise, the next episode will be up next Thursday, so every Thursday from now on. You can follow us on Spotify, TuneIn, and soon, maybe by the time this is up, iTunes. So give us a subscribe on there, or give us a subscribe on YouTube. Give us a review, a comment, a like, whatever you want to do, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.